Hey everyone, we're going to get started here in just a moment. Let me share my screen. By way of introduction, if you don't already know me, I am Trent. I am the Customer Success Director here at Woven. And our plan today is basically just to go through things that have been added to the product, whether those are enhancements or new functionality over the past month or so. We do this every month, and we'll just be running through these kind of rapid fire on all things that have been updated in the next 30 minutes. So let me share my screen and we will jump right into it. All right. All right, so I'm sharing my screen now. And here I'm logged into a fictitious account. I'm going to start just run through some of the items. So where I'm going to start with today is on one of our newest pieces of functionality, which is the celebrations feature. When we look at the celebrations feature, sorry, so wrong word, communications feature, the communications feature. When we look at the communications feature, it's like this bulletin board style of communication where my teams can interact and all that kind of thing. We've been talking about this a lot lately, and I want to show you some new things that we've added to it. So on the back of the back of the house side of things here, we made some updates to the moderation tool when it comes to communications. So if people are commenting on a communication, you can now moderate. You can see here, my colleague said that this communication was bogus, and I am able as an admin to administer and hide this message. I can do so just by clicking on a message and I can copy it, or I can either copy it or hide it right here. These messages that are getting flagged is happening through some automation. So if I go into the settings of this tool, under the moderation tab, this functionality is now working. So you can enable AI comment moderation, decide if it's going to be conservative and kind of flag a lot of things, if it's going to be permissive and allow most things, or if it's going to be kind of the industry standard of moderation. And then are you going to custom block any terms? And you can see some examples here. You can custom block up to 100 terms. Additionally, Woven has a profanity filter that this runs through. So if people are using profane words, those are already going to get flagged for you automatically, and you can moderate. So this functionality was not available on V1, but it is now available. Some other things in here, we now have translate. So translate here is yes, no. And if we go to our homepage, you may have already noticed this if you've been in Woven lately. When you look at a communication, you can click here and translate it to 5 supported languages. It's like this. Let's say I just want to switch this to Spanish. And there I go. So that is relatively new as well. We pop back over to communications, a few more things in here. This feature now has insights. So if we go into insights here, I can roll up the data from the time when this was released. In this case, we did a release last night, so this date is unique in our demo environment. But I can get dashboards and charts that slice and dice my read rates, read times, and saturation, and all those types of things related to my communications. So if you like visual representations of how far your audience reach is going, this is a great tool in your tool belt for this. You can filter many of these charts, and you can also get data tables for many of these things. You could even look at communications on what's kind of getting the most interaction versus the least interaction here. This engagement area is new. You can also filter it down to certain date ranges, so you're not looking at everything as a whole. So yeah, take a look at this. If you're looking at some of the interactive pieces, like here I have engaged readership, I can click on that. It's going to take me down here and give me some additional detail on that as well. So insights and moderation both are new. Last thing on communications. There is a new permission when it comes to communications. So when I am looking at a communication and I am authoring one, let's say something like this one, and I click to edit. Down, if I go to change this real quick. All right, so here I have targeted when I can select the location and I can select some positions or job titles to target. I also have this button for public. This button for public allows me to send this communication to absolutely everyone at the organization, or at least everyone that's in my Woven account. This button is now security controlled. So only people that you deem are allowed to do this are going to be able to do this. Otherwise, it will remove this button and they will only be able to use the targeted ability. That's going to be great for things like your site managers, as an example, or location managers, right? So that they can't target all the way up to the CEO or CFO with the communication about just their location or about road work or whatever it may be. Prevent some of that now. With that in mind, if we go to account settings, just to show you where this lives, under security, I'm going to go to my security role here in this account. And I'm going to go to operations, communications, and then specifically the new permission is communications public audience right here. Okay. Actually, there's one more thing I do want to show you with communications, which is related to AI discoverability. So we click it back into this same announcement or communication, sorry. Actually, let's go into the one we were in before about kickball, I believe. There we go. All right, so if I have access to do this, down here at the bottom, when I'm publishing a communication, I have these options for AI discoverability. So what this does is if I mark it as AI discoverable, it means that when a team member is on their homepage and they are looking at this what's happening section and they type something in this box here, Woven is going to use that configuration and basically parse your communication if you've allowed it to, and try to surface an answer. So if they're like, hey, what's the deal with this kickball league in my fictitious example, Woven would be able to find it and surface that information and feed it back to them. So that's the idea. Here as well, you can just determine how long is it discoverable. Is it only discoverable while this communication is published, or is it discoverable after the fact? So if I want it to archive, it will automatically, basically, in this case, as of August 31st, be unavailable for them to search on anymore. Or I can say that it's going to remain discoverable. I can even set a cutoff date for when that discoverability date comes up. Maybe it's not August 31st, but it's the end of September. I can configure it that way. So I have a lot of control here. With that, you also have a permission on who can do that. So under security roles, same area, we're going to go to operations and then communications. And down here at the bottom, we have this new security for AI discoverability that controls everything that I just mentioned, as well as the insights dashboard that we covered a little bit earlier. The visibility to that is also controlled by a security role under communications. Okay, so quite a bit there when it comes to the communication side. Another update is in our policies feature that we're going to switch to. So in our policies feature, you can see here I've got all my company policies and my fictitious account here. And if I click on one, let's say this one here, this update is relatively small, but previously this side panel used to look different. It used to be an old style for us, and now it matches what you're used to seeing in the communications feature, where there is this public targeted type of experience. It works the exact same way as you're used to in the communications tool. But again, it's more of just a UI UX update because this styling was old and has been updated. All right. Moving on to some work order things. In work orders, a few new things here related to bulk updates and as well as ratings. So here on the top right-hand side, if I have access to it, there is a new tool, which is bulk update work orders. Reasoning for this is occasionally our engineering team was getting custom scripting requests to say, basically, let's use this example here. Hey, I want to change the reason for this work order to something else, and I don't have permissions to do it, or maybe there's no mechanism to do that. Or I want to change it that was put in wrong and I need engineering to help me, kind of those types of things. We've now given you a tool to do that on your own, which is you download this CSV. I'm going to show you what the template looks like. This looks very similar to our bulk update assets tool, but you're updating in bulk the work orders rather than the asset record. And here I could say, as an admin, I want to change this reason to something else, whatever I want to. I need to update them. Maybe I'm closing a bunch of work orders in bulk. I could do that. I could update the states, the priority levels, and so on. I save this as a CSV, but after all of my updates are done, save it to my computer, click continue, drag and drop it right here, click validate. Validate is going to basically look and make sure that what you put in the workbook, all the naming conventions match your asset settings and your work order settings. So it's not going to toss any errors. If there is an error, it's going to tell you what line that error is on so that you can make an update. And then ultimately, you're going to be able to validate and in bulk make all of these updates. This is brand new functionality coming to our work order feature for administrative things. Related to that, there is also a permission specifically to this tool that is under our maintenance work orders section of permissions. Okay. Next is in a work order, some updates to how we display age. So when I'm looking at a work order like this, I see that this work order is a little over 1 day old. And then let's say things are getting updated and I'm going to make some updates here. Maybe it was on site, maybe I'm collecting quotes, whatever it is. Over time, I can click on this age and it's going to show me kind of a paper trail of how long was it not started? How long was somebody on site? How long was somebody waiting for something? How long was it on hold? And basically a summary of all of those things. So you can see a log here of how long potentially things got blocked. So this previously was just the age, and now you get a little more detail based on the state value. All right. All right. Next, in work orders, we're going to talk about vendors. So in the vendor side, you're going to notice in this, if you've been to this page before, under vendor management, there's a new column for compliance. And here, under my equipment repair company, let's go ahead and look at this. I have a new tab here for documents. And under this tab, I have general documents, I have certificates of insurance section, and I have a contracts section. I can upload a COI. I can say that it replaces an old COI if I have one, or I can update a new one. I'm just going to pick a PDF I have so I can demonstrate what this looks like to you. Let Woven finish up and add it. And then I can click back into it and say, all right, this is general liability, it's workers' comp, it's auto, it's whatever one of these things. Producer, policy number, put in an effective date and an expiration date. And when I've done those things, I will then be able to report on them and find them throughout Woven. So this is new, as well as contracts. Do the same thing. I can upload a contract, grab that same document. Great. Set the effective date, set the contract type from one of these three existing options. Does it auto renew with a informational well of what that means? Does it only apply to certain locations or all locations? And I can pick and choose if I need to. And then click save. Because I've done that, if I go back to the vendor section, you're going to see that they're compliant here, and that I have one current COI and one current contract with this vendor. Next is the rates tab in vendors. Here in the vendor tab for rates, if I click add a rate, I can say what type of rate is it? Let's say it's their standard. How much are their billable hours potentially? Let's say it's $150. Do we bill that by hour, daily, weekly, monthly? Is it a flat fee? Is it per unit? Is it square foot? Or is it per visit? Say it's hourly. And does that apply to certain locations or all locations? And then add that rate like that. So that's all new as well. All right. Looking through my notes here, one more thing I think is worth mentioning on the work order side. and don't have my phone plugged in because my iPhone doesn't really like to play nicely with my Windows device. So I will talk about this at a high level, but you've probably already noticed it if you have our Woven app installed on your phone, which is the submission process for work orders is now natively in our mobile experience. So previously, this used to redirect you to a browser experience, whether that was Chrome, Mozilla, Safari, whatever it was, right? And you would have to do it that way. Now, as long as you're on the latest version of the app, you can do that experience entirely through our app, through your phone. It will look exactly like what you see here on the side panel and walk you through the same workflow, but it's all baked in natively, which is pretty cool. And it's been a long time coming. So I'm excited about that one. All right. I think that's it for work orders. Let's talk on a couple more things. I think the next thing is going to be under locations. We have this new tab under location settings for operating hours. So if we look at a location today, you have always had the ability to click into a location and over on the right-hand side here, set manually the operating hours. Is it in a 24-hour business or are we only open for certain hours on certain days of the week? Now, under location settings, under operating hours, you can update those values in bulk by using this tool. So more of an administrative type of task, but you can do that across hundreds of locations all in one go rather than one at a time. All right, looking through my notes here. We're doing pretty well on time and on content so far. Let's see what's next. All right, next thing I want to mention is I'm going to log out of this account so you can see it. If you've logged into Woven in the last few days, you've probably noticed that we now have a new button on the sign-in page, which is sign in with Microsoft. So we now support SSO through Microsoft at least. So if your ID in the file feed that comes from your HRS platform that feeds to Woven in an automated manner every day, if that ID matches what is on your Microsoft account with your organization, you can simply click this button and it is going to sign you in straight through your Microsoft account. You no longer need a Woven username and password that can be completely blank. You can just click sign in with Microsoft and it would work. Again, though, it does require that ID is in the file being sent to us and is mapped appropriately, which may or may not take some configuration with your assigned CSM or our support team. So you have that now. So we have SSO. Additionally, honorable mention for those of you that maybe want to SSO but don't want to run through IT, you do have one other option. So if we click into my dev account as an individual, you can click up here under my account, under security, and here where it says external authenticate SSO, I can manually, even though my ID may or may not match what's in Microsoft, manually connect my Woven profile with my work Microsoft account. So you can do it this way. So this is brand new, only been out and for about 1 week. So you are some of the first people to see it. And that's our first stab at SSO. Likely, now that we have Microsoft, there are likely other types of SSO coming, but this is our first toe tip into that. Okay, next we're gonna go to chat, I think, as our next topic. All right, so in the chat experience, let's see if I have any here. Yeah, this is a good example. So previously, oh, actually, this is an even better example. Previously in chat, if I was in a chat thread, let's say using my colleagues that are with me on the phone today, and I was in a chat thread with Vanessa and Lauren, and Trent decided to retire. I won the lottery and I'm no longer going to work. And so I get terminated through the HRS system, right? In that case, the chat thread that the three of us shared, because let's say I started it, becomes locked and Lauren and Vanessa are kind of trapped in a dead end chat with me, a person that no longer works at the organization. So we have since fixed that. What happens now is if a person, such as in this case, we have a terminated team member in our chat, you see that with that red icon, and if that person owned the chat, now it's going to reassign the ownership of that chat to the other people that are still there. Basically, we're just fixing that issue where you can't dead end a chat thread anymore because that wasn't a desired experience. So not really a lot to demo on there. It's more that there was an issue and now there is no longer an issue. So not exactly a bug fix, but almost a bug fix, if you will. All right. And then under file library, I believe the update here, although I'm not as familiar with this as I am with some of the other things that we've covered so far today, is this column here for published as well as the audience. So when I look at this, there's a little bit more clear on who am I targeting? Am I not sharing? This used to just say not sharing or sharing, I think. And now we have more specific tags here that more correctly identify who is it being shared with. And if I click into one of these things, I have this visibility tab and I can control that. And you see the targeting experience is really similar to the targeting experiences we kind of see throughout Woven. So mostly a UI, UX update here, but a way to be a little bit easier at a glance to discover who am I actually sharing with this, or am I sharing it at all? All right. Looking through my notes, I think that just about covers everything I had planned for today. Let me look one more place before I let you all go. Give me one moment here. Yeah, okay. I do have a couple more things that I think are worth mentioning. So let's go ahead and jump into those. Okay, really just the one more thing. Under work orders, if you've decided to start using our ratings, right? So you see up here, I have 32 ratings in my fictitious account here that are waiting on me. This has been an update here for a little while now, but under work order settings, there's this ratings area. And if you've turned it on, you're going to have all these configuration options on when does a rating happen, how many stars, does it require comments, who gets the rating, those types of things, right? So take a look at this if you've not already seen it. We would have covered it on a previous webinar, or likely your account admin knows about this already if you are using our maintenance suite of features. However, the new update here is this configuration here on the bottom right, which says during the rating survey, drop the star rating step for a reviewer who answers no, that it's unsatisfactory. In that case, basically, we're removing the ability to score a 0. If you turn this on, it just becomes leave them a comment, and we know that it's unsatisfactory. We were getting feedback on this that a 0 and the label of unsatisfactory was basically duplicative, right? If it's unsatisfied, we also already know it's a 0. And so here we can do that, and we drop the star rating and don't necessarily ding them because we already know. If the reviewer answers no, skip the star rating, you just have the ability to do that. You can just skip the star rating if this is turned on. It is an all or nothing configuration, so determine when it's appropriate and then probably experiment with it, decide what's going to work for your organization. But that is new as well in the work order side. Okay, I think that covers all the things that I had planned for today. As always, we're constantly building things. We do a release every single week. So while you may not see it every single week, always check the change log here and see what's new. If you're trying to get a preview of what we'll cover on this call, the things that I'm covering on this call are always here first. So if you're trying to stay on the pulse of what's new at Woven, that's the best bet. Otherwise, join me here once a month. We'll run through everything rapid fire style like we always do. Thanks for your time, for your attention. Hope you had a good lunch break with me, and have a great rest of your day. Catch you next time.